Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to be here with you this afternoon. I'm especially honored to be asked, along with Ted Lieu, every year to come to give the State of the Region address. I think that it is extremely important to respond to the request, because I believe that the Torrance Chamber of Commerce is the best chamber of commerce in the whole United States of America. And so I want to thank Serena Josel of Kaiser Permanente for that introduction. And of course, always my thanks to the Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce. The Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce has done an incredible job. And I want you to know that Donna Duperon is the most active, the most involved, the most committed of anyone that I've ever seen serving as president and CEO of a Chamber of Commerce. She keeps this chamber busy. There is an activity going every week. So give Donna Duperon a big round of applause. And of course, a wonderful team working with John Hefferman, who is the chairman of the board, and for all of the time and hard work that he puts into this chamber. He too is very dedicated, and he is absolutely committed to serving the people of Torrance. Give him a big round of applause. I'm delighted to be here with Ted Lieu. He is one of our young, active members of the Congress of the United States of America. He's now in a special position in the leadership that he will tell you something about. And of course, in addition to that, he is known as one of the most successful and accomplished tweeters in Washington, D.C. His leadership does not go unnoticed. Give him a big round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, normally when Ted and I come, we are trying to do everything that we can to identify what we're doing in Washington, D.C. and how it relates to the region. And so normally we will be talking about transportation issues as it relates to the efforts in the South Bay. We will be talking about issues of concern to our local business community, on, and we're going to do some of that today. But I know you want to hear about what's going on in Washington. Or maybe you don't. First, I would like to say to Mayor Pat Fury and Terry, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for being an involved mayor who shows up at every event. He's always there. And of course, he just got back from Washington not too long ago. And he's reminding me how cold it is back there. But he's also reminding me about what this city and what this region cares about, this area. And so they're always there as advocates, speaking on behalf of not only the city, but the region, and helping us to understand how we can focus our attention on issues that will make the quality of life much better for the people who live here. Give them a big round of applause. I want to let you know that I was elected by my colleagues to become the chair of the very important Financial Services Committee of the Congress of the United States. And I have served on that committee for 28 years. So I think I know something about it. And I'm very pleased and honored that I'm going to have an opportunity to have hearings and oversight and some investigations in that committee that have been ignored for far too long. I want you to know that I started out with my first hearing was on homelessness. Homelessness, as you know, is a real problem throughout this country. And no matter where you come from, what community you're in, there are people who are living in tents, under bridges, in your backyard sometimes, because they really don't have a place to live. And the most shameful thing about homelessness is that we have veterans and families with children who are homeless. And so this committee has HUD. We have HUD in that committee. That's one of the government agencies that we have the oversight responsibility for. But we have not had a hearing on homelessness or the problem of basically rentals and lack of the ability to be owners in this country, because the previous chair just did not think those issues were important. But I think they're very important, and so I have a huge bill that I'm going to reintroduce. I've introduced it twice, and it is a bill to end homelessness forever. I believe that my bill of $13 billion, $13.27 billion, can do that. Now, I want you to know there's been a lot of discussion about the definition of homelessness, and we have homeless advocates who fight each other about how it should be defined. We're going to get rid of that fight. We're going to come together, and we're going to make sure that we have a definition that's fitting and that will serve the people of this country. There's no reason why we should have 500,000 people out on the streets every night. And in our area alone, in the greater Los Angeles area, about 50,000 on the street every night. And so this is something that I'm going to pay an awful lot of attention to. I want you to know that, you know as well as anybody that there's division in Washington, D.C., and that the parties don't work too well together. And of course, we have a lot of the pundits and people from the media who have been predicting what I'm going to do and how I'm going to run the committee. And they said that I was going to be very tough on some people on Wall Street. They said that I was going to do a lot of investigation of this administration. But I want you to know that the ranking member on this committee is a young man that I have gotten to know, and we are working together, and we have 3 bills that are going to be co-sponsored, Democrats and Republicans working together, and those bills will be 3 bills that are very important. The National Flood Insurance Bill. I just heard there was flooding in California, and it has to be reauthorized, and so we're going to work on that. And then we have something called TRIA, and TRIA is basically a program that supports insurance companies when you have disasters and you have catastrophic occurrences where the insurance companies could not have anticipated that in the premiums that they were charging. And so when you have huge venues and hospitals and things that certainly the premiums would not cover the cost of, if they have to be redone, if they have to be reconstructed. And so we have a program that will provide support to make sure that these huge and important venues that service all of the people will be reconstructed, will be renovated, will be put back in service. So that's 2 of those bills that we're working on. And of course, Donna knows about the Export-Import Bank. That's so very important. That got undermined in the last session of Congress, was under attack, and we don't know why, because this EXIM Bank is so very important to helping to support our ability to export to other countries. And when we export, we create jobs. And we have so many countries that would like to have goods and services, and we have so many people prepared to provide those goods and services, but they need some support, they need some help, whether or not it's with insurance, other kinds of things that makes exports very possible. So we're gonna put those 3 bills up. and we're going to work together, and we're going to show them that the predictions are all wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. When we decide that we can work together and get things done, then we should do it, and we're going to try to be fine examples of that. So I want you to help in every way that you can. When these bills come up, we won't have much opposition. We'll have some opposition. But on some things like Ex-Im Bank, we have a lot of people who don't understand what it is. And they think it's another bank like a Bank of America, or it is not. And so I want you to write, I want you to tweet, I want you to get on the internet, and I want you to give support to the Ex-Im Bank, because we have lots of small businesses in this area who are exporters or who would like to be exporters, and they would like to have some support for their government. Will you do that? And so we are experiencing some remarkable things in Washington, D.C. We are experiencing the kinds of decisions, the kinds of initiatives that we never thought we would encounter. And so it is daunting, and we are working in every way that we possibly can to deal with it. Many of you are watching what is going on your television. You're listening to what is being said about certain issues. You're trying to understand what is going on with our foreign relations, and on and on and on. But I bet you in all of that, you were certainly surprised that your government shut down for 35 days. Federal employees who were not paid, who lived paycheck to paycheck. Federal employees who were seeking help for their families with some of our nonprofit organizations all over this country. 800,000 federal employees. Why did that take place? It should not have taken place. It should not be the kind of response when people have differences about how things ought to be done. The big issue that is now taking up so much time and confronting the Congress of the United States have to do with the fact that the President of the United States told everybody that he was going to build a big, beautiful wall. A big, beautiful wall that nobody could climb over. The biggest and most beautiful wall you have ever seen or heard of in your life, and Mexico was going to pay for it. And Mexico told him in very unkind words that that was not going to happen. And so the president still was asking us for $5.7 billion to build this wall. And of course, when he couldn't get what he wanted, he simply used the power of the presidency to shut down this country and shut down all of the federal workers that you heard about, and you wondered what was happening to them and their families. We finally got to the place where our new speaker basically said to him he could not come to the Congress of the United States and give the State of the Union. And so he wanted that platform so bad until he backed down, and he got there, and when he got there, he was greeted by a lot of women in white. And the women in white were the new elected women, and many of the women who have been serving in Congress for so long, who have been wanting to get at some of the issues about family and education and health care and child care, and many of these issues that certainly had been abandoned or forgotten. And so he came and he gave his speech, and the women and Nancy Pelosi gave her clap. And everybody wanted to know, how did she think of that clap? She said, I didn't think of it, it just came and I just did it. And so after that, it was on to getting both sides together with an agreement that they would try and work out the differences and see what they could do to get beyond this situation about the wall. And so they did get together. It was very tough. And they put together a conference committee, and they came out with some very limited funding for, I think, about $1.375 billion for the wall or for the barrier or for whatever it was called. And they put some other money into the effort, talking about how you use new technology and how you use the drones and other kinds of things to deal with securing the border, because everybody wants border security. And, you know, even though sometimes our president talks about he's the only one that cares about security for this country, that is certainly questionable. Because he is absolutely friends with one of the worst enemies of this country, and that is Putin in Russia and the Kremlin. And he said he's in love with Kim Jong-un over in North Korea. And he said, despite the fact that our intelligence committees, our intelligence leaders in the government said to him that Kim Jong-un was still dangerous and that he still was desirous of deploying missiles at any time. And the president answered by saying to our intelligence leaders that he didn't believe that was true because Putin told him so. And so we have real concerns. I'm not only concerned about the divisions that are being created in our country, I'm concerned about what is being thought of us in foreign